All right, y'all. Happy Friday. It is time for me to drink some wine and talk about some crime. Today we are going to be talking about Jaren Lockhart. On June 7th of 2012 in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, body parts began to wash up on shore. Between June 7th and June 9th, they found a head, arms, legs, torso, and the tattoos had been cut from this body to hinder identification. But the cause of death was easily determined because she had a gaping stab wound over the heart. So cops are trying to piece this all together and identify her. And they get a tip that a dancer who worked at Temptations on Bourbon Street was missing. Police discover that 22-year-old Jaren Lockhart has been reported missing by her boyfriend, who says she did not return home from work at Temptations the night before. Jaren is a loving mother with a 3-year-old daughter who has had a pretty rough life, like many of us. At the time, between his job contracts, they would live in hotels, and at this time they were living in a hotel, but the 3-year-old was safe with the grandparents. They use DNA to identify, and definitely this is Jaren. So cops in New Orleans start pulling CCTV and surveillance videos from Bourbon Street that night. And when questioning other dancers, they find out that these two people on the video had been in and out of a couple of clubs, Temptations and Stilettos, propositioning women and asking if they would come home with them there's conflicting stories. Either it was for a threesome or for a private bachelor party. And that they were going to pay whoever came with them $700 to go. One of the other dancers, when interviewed, said that this female told them if they didn't find a girl, something bad was going to happen. So at that point, that dancer was like, no, I'm good. But over the course of the night, someone pointed them to Jaren Lockhart. She was just finishing her shift and just finishing her dance, and they knew that she was desperate for money. She was trying to make rent, and the tips were not great that night. So looking at all the surveillance video, police track the car that these two individuals were in, and they discovered that that car would have been in Mississippi when the body was dumped. So they released the video of these two to the public so that they can get tips, and they do get tips. And these two are identified as Margaret Sanchez. Coincidentally, Margaret had been interviewed in a documentary called Zack and Addie. It was an award-winning documentary about another dismemberment in New Orleans. And she knew those people, so this is part of her from that documentary. And the man is identified as Terry Speaks. People tell the cops that they have worked in the club with these two before. They're familiar with them, and now we're going to go to part 2.